I think the WNBA may have more hyper-masculine individuals than the NBA.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, look, Adam Aluminum is a weak, ineffectual leader. There's no doubt about it. He has capitulated to a point where he is not a leader. He's a figurehead, and he just enables this behavior. And there's that old phrase, you give him an inch, they'll take a yard. And that's exactly what the Players Association and its members have done. But there is no pride anymore. But again, to Butter's point, I don't think it's just one guy. I think there's a lot of people that are responsible for this. And overall, I remember a point in time, and you can make a judgment on it. Joe Mazzulla, who I think he'd be my write-in candidate for NBA commissioner. Okay, I need to go back to the ballot and write his name in, NBA commissioner Joe Maz. All right. There used to be fights in the preseason. I remember that famous brawl that nearly broke out between Rick Fox and Doug Christie. That's during the height of the Sacramento Kings-Lakers rivalry. They obviously had some harsh feelings. They thought they had broken it up. And guys, they went into the tunnel to basically scrap. That's how much it mattered back then. And there's a famous picture. Daryl Dawkins, Maurice Lucas squaring up. They look like big heavyweights. They actually look like prize fighters, and they had to get that out of the way. And there's a famous picture. Xavier McDaniel, the X-Man, was a member originally of the Seattle Supersonics. There was a loose ball. Wes Matthews did something he didn't like. He literally put both of his big hands around the neck of poor little Wes Matthews and was choking him. Great. NBA action was fantastic. That's what we need. That stuff again.
Steve, I want to hammer that point. I love you brought up Joe Mazzulla again, where he makes the point like, hey, in baseball and hockey,
yeah,
they can still fight. And that's good for the game. And Steve, baseball and hockey, just quite frankly, it's not dominated by American black athletes. And so what you don't have, I want to further my point, what you don't have is the victim mentality that American blacks have and American black athletes have. And when you see yourself as a victim, you're always looking to make things easier and safer. And, it's a feminine mentality. And so they've eliminated the masculinity from basketball. They're doing the same thing in football, whereas in baseball and hockey, they've held on to forms of masculinity, and the ultimate form is fighting. It's the victim mentality. It's poisonous to the NBA and anything man does, a victim mentality is poisonous to, and it will ruin the game. Joe Mazzulla didn't explain it the way that I am, didn't go as far as, but I think that's what he's getting at.
Well, I mean, what would these guys do in a fighting situation? Throw limp-wristed punches and their purses at each other? I mean, to go even further than you, Jason, could you then say that the highest percentage of players that are raised by single mothers come from that league? And then at that point, there's an influx of feminine energy, right? Let's just go all the way there. But I just, some of my fondest NBA memories, forget the Malice at the Palace. That was pretty good. I remember a brawl between the Bad Boy Pistons and the Charles Barkley-led Sixers. That was unbelievable. What a fight that was. I remember one time in 1985, the Lakers had gotten Maurice Lucas. They had just won the title. They added him. They had released Bob McAdoo. The Lakers and the Celtics actually got into a full-scale brawl at the Forum during a preseason game. So as a young person, I'm influenced. In other words, I'm saying, wow, these guys really give a damn. They care. So in turn, my hatred for the Celtics only grows and my loyalty to the Lakers continues to rise. There is none of that now. Because when you are telling players in early November, hey guys, buddy, take a night off. What are you, the overlying message? I don't think Popovich gets enough heat for the role he played in this decline.
Would you guys let me please encourage you to go back and watch that video? Because we must have watched a completely different video. The one I watched, Mazzulla was trolling at first, joking. But when he got to the end there, he was making a racial statement. He was pointing out that those leagues that are allowed to fight aren't black. I think he was making a racial statement where you're saying he was pointing out, hey, we need to bring this back to the league. I think he's pointing out that hockey has sticks and pucks and they're allowed to fight, and baseball has bats and balls and they're allowed to fight, but we don't. Why aren't we allowed to fight? I think he's pointing out hypocrisy in it and that they've been banned from fighting.
They have been banned from fighting. I think he's dead serious about we need to be allowed to fight.
I think he started out in that lane. I think at the end of his comments, I think he's pointing out the hypocrisy in it, saying that
there's hypocrisy, but we should be allowed to do it. It's actually good for the game. I think that's what he's saying.
Based on the game or based on being black?
I don't think he minces words. He's pretty bold. And so if he wanted to play that card, I think he would have done it, even though it has not been his pattern, because I don't think he has that type of worldview. But I do think it could be inferred by someone like me that they don't. Perhaps part of it is the so-called racism of it would be the expectations are so low for football and basketball players that they couldn't limit the fighting amongst themselves. They couldn't leave it on the field or court, because in hockey, these guys will beat each other up, knock each other's teeth out, and then shake hands after the hockey game. In baseball, but it doesn't spill out. In the NBA, take the Malice in the Palace, for example. I think they're afraid of that. Would it just be limited to the players, or will it spill over into the fans? Will it spill over into, again, you've heard about this in the NBA. Maybe it's gone on in baseball, maybe it's gone on in hockey, but I haven't heard about it. There hasn't been a Gilbert Arenas in hockey or baseball that brings a gun into the locker room and gets busted. And I can't remember the teammate's name, but they were threatening to shoot each other. I think expectations are so low, and perhaps justifiably for these black athletes, that they feel like they couldn't handle it if they allowed them to fight the way these other sports are. It would end up in gunplay or fights after the game. I don't think I heard Joe Mazzulla wrong. I hear your point, but I don't think I heard it. Steve?
Joe Mazzulla has very little frivolity in his life. What he says, he means. I'm with you, Jason. I don't think he minces words. He actually probably grew up in the last vestige where you could actually scrap and fight and, people get broken up, and he probably misses that. I would venture to guess that Joe probably sees things out on the court, guys sitting out on games, guys being soft, guys asking out of games, a load management, and he probably hates it. He probably secretly hates it, and he probably wants to harken back to a time when things were a little bit rougher, a little bit dirtier, a little bit grimier, and because he probably enjoyed it.
Guys, I'm going to move on from here, but I wasn't anticipating the conversation going where it went. Man, I love this show. I hope the audience appreciates it, because all of this is very real and relevant and fascinating. I'm going to have to give it some more thought. I've, from Steve's load management to the whole victim mentality, a lot of these thoughts are coming to me in real time that I think I want to expound on. If you enjoyed that video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe so you never miss a moment of Fearless.